So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us here today. My name is Pat Alvaro, Director of Sales for ICT here in Canada. And joining me is Svorinic, who's our Western Region Canadian Sales Manager. He's based in Vancouver. Before we begin and get into the presentation, the format we're going to follow is I'm going to run you through a 45-minute slide deck. That's going to be full of examples, live demonstration, etc. So that'll run for about 45 minutes. In the interim, you guys can definitely ask questions using the chat feature. So I encourage you, if you've got questions, enter your questions via chat, and Andre will administer the Q&A towards the end of the presentation. So at the 45-minute mark, we're going to transition over to Q&A, and hopefully we'll answer as many questions as possible. So we are a unified intrusion and access control manufacturer. We're based in Auckland, New Zealand, which for us that are based in North America is quite unique because we're typically used to dealing with North American-based manufacturers. But having said that, in that part of the world, unified intrusion access control systems are a standard. They're kind of how things are done down in that part of the world. The reverse is true here in North America. In North America, we quite often still find that access control systems are disparate or installed separately from intrusion detection systems. And then at a certain point, there could be some form of integration between the two, but that doesn't offer the full breadth of features that you can realize with a unified platform. So we're definitely a proponent of unified systems. We feel that's the best approach. Especially in the enterprise space, you would want a single platform that, again, will unify your access control, intrusion detection, and your building automation system. So we find that this is the best approach, providing that single point of reference for the end user, single point of programming and management, all on a platform. So our system is very intuitive to learn. It's been designed so that your learning curve is greatly reduced, despite the fact that it is quite a capable system. So being a single solution approach allows you to maximize your full potential in the platform. Again, we feel that there are a number of benefits to utilizing a single platform. You have greater interoperability between your intrusion detection and your access control system. We manufacture everything in-house, so all engineering, design, manufacturing is done in-house in Auckland, New Zealand. And we're utilized by some of the leading brands around the world. So we sell in over 20 countries, and we have a number of clients that are utilizing the platform. There we go. Some of them you may be familiar with. Of note here in Canada, we've got, for example, the entire ski resort of Whistler Blackcomb is on Protege GX. They currently manage 90 buildings for intrusion detection. And their goal was really to simplify management of PINs. Because of the nature of their business, they hire a lot of seasonal staff, so they have a lot of turnover. So for them, managing PINs was a real challenge. Previous to going to Protege GX, they were utilizing single alarm panels, which meant that they had to individually manage each building separately. It also meant that if their employees had access to multiple buildings, they would have to create that user's profile in multiple panels. So as you can imagine, this created quite a bit of headache in terms of managing PINs for the staff. And then if you add in the element, the fact that they hire a lot of different seasonal staff on a seasonal basis, you can imagine the challenge there in maintaining the database. We've got a number of other examples across Canada. One that isn't listed up on the screen there is the SAQ, which is a liquor board, a retail distributor in Quebec. So in Quebec, if you're buying alcohol, you're typically going to the SAQ. And the SAQ operates over 450 retail locations in the province of Quebec. And again, they also wanted a centrally managed intrusion and access control system. and Protege GX offered them that capability, the ability to manage all sites simultaneously, to look at events in real time, to provide reporting as well. That was something that was important to them. And there's many, many other examples that we obviously don't have time to consider during our webinar today, but again, we have other examples in a number of different verticals where our products were deployed. So we started in 2003. The company was started by Hayden Burr and Rachel. And it's not often time you get to meet the founders of a company, but both Hayden and Rachel, they're quite involved in the business. They really like interfacing with customers, obviously with staff, but they also listen to the voice of the end user or voice of customer, and they value the feedback they get from the field. A lot of the feedback that we get is actually translated into features into our products. So that's a vital aspect. Unlike dealing with a Fortune 100 or 500 company that may have come by way of acquisition, the founders of the companies are still very much involved in the day-to-day operations of the business. So we feel that this gives us an advantage in the marketplace because we can be a lot more receptive to the requests from our customers. So we're not a conglomerate. We're definitely a company that's growing, but despite the fact that we're growing and despite the fact that we've got a number of staff, we still have that small company feel in the sense that if there's an issue, we could correct it quite quickly. And if there's a request from the field, that can get brought up to the top quite effectively. So as I mentioned, the company is growing by leaps and bounds. We just added to our headquarters in New Zealand. This is a photo of our headquarters based in Auckland, and we added an additional, I believe it was 60,000 square foot of manufacturing space to the building. So we're definitely on the move. Research and development is housed in Auckland, New Zealand. And we have customer and technical support centers in various parts of the world. The main ones are in Auckland, obviously, where we provide tech support, sales support, training and certification. And we have locations outside of Auckland. We've got our office in Denver, Colorado, which services the US. We've got an office in Toronto, Canada for the Canadian marketplace. And we've also got an office in Australia for the Australian market. So as a company, we like to have local presence in the markets that we're most strong in. We feel that this provides us a quicker access to our customers and quicker access for our customers in terms of inventory and technical support. So two of the main platforms we go to market with is Protege WX, which is our entry-level browser-based system. This is really designed for smaller applications, single site, single panel configuration. The fact that it's browser-based means that it's very quick to set up and extremely intuitive to use. There's absolutely no software to install. You're not having to fumble with operating systems or anything like that. It's completely browser-based. It'll work with any browser. So you're saving time and setup in terms of not having to install software. The fact that it's browser-based also allows you anywhere, anytime access. And what we mean by that is if you connect your controller to a network connection, you can now access the programming, make changes anywhere in the world where you have an internet connection. And the changes can be made via a browser, on a tablet, on a laptop, on a work desk, on a workstation. So completely platform agnostic in that sense. WX, or Protege WX, also allows you to start very small, but allows you to grow big in case a requirement exists where you need to now exceed the capacity of a single site solution. Protege WX allows you to migrate and transition over to Protege GX, which is our enterprise class system. The reason for this is that all the modules are the same, whether it's connected to a Protege WX controller or connected to a Protege GX controller. the modules are designed to work with both platforms. So today you could start with a Protege WX system, single site, and then tomorrow you can migrate that over to Protege GX simply by purchasing the server license, changing out the WX controller for a GX controller, and now you've got unlimited expansion capabilities. So this allows a company, again, to, especially companies that are in growth mode, they may not have the working capital necessary to start large, but have plans, you know, for expanding in the future. WX affords them that starting point. A couple of screenshots of the GUI, and as you can see, the GUI can be brought up on a tablet or on a laptop computer. This is a kind of an overview of a typical Protege WX installation. So every WX system starts with a system controller that is Ethernet connected. So it's native IP, connects to a network, which could also have internet connection for that remote access capability. And then downstream via RS-45, you have a number of expansion capabilities. Those can be in the form of input expanders for supporting additional intrusion points. They could be in the form of reader expansion modules for extending the access control capability of the WX platform. So most expansion is done via RS-45 connected modules. We also have other means of connecting modules via a network repeater, which means the ability to perhaps connect to modules that are located remotely from the main control panel, where you're exceeding the limitation of the RS-45 network. So having that network-based repeater allows you to reach out to remote RS-45 modules. Before we get into GX, I thought I'd give you kind of a glimpse of the WX GUI. So I'll just select that here. So right now, you should all see my login screen for the WX system. By default, the login is admin, although it forces you to change the login for the very first time. So you'll notice here, so I've had to change it. And logging in gives you a view of the dashboard. So the screen gives you information in terms of whether or not there's any health conditions. So WX has a health monitor, which could indicate that perhaps a module has been disconnected, or a module needs a restart, or an area is tampered, area has been disarmed. So things of that nature would be listed in the health status portion of the dashboard. We also have a voltage reading here for the bus. So obviously we're at 13.87 volts on my demo unit, which is exactly where you want to be in terms of voltage. And it also gives you other vital stats in terms of the controller hardware itself and what its current IP address is, as you can see. Setting up Protege WX for those that are new to the platform is also simplified by way of wizards. So when you install a WX system and you have all the modules connected, most technicians would run the module wizard. So the wizard checks the bus and detects how many modules are connected, and it automatically assigns the modules a valid address. In my example here, I don't have any additional modules connected, so none would be represented here. So from this point on, I can just hit save and return to main menu. The other helpful wizards are the access control wizard. And this just guides you along in terms of perhaps renaming your doors, all the connected doors. Now, in my example here, as I mentioned, I don't have any additional modules connected, so I'm only controlling the 2 onboard reader ports. By using the wizard, I could rename the doors. So in this case here, if I wanted to rename door 1 as the front door, I could do that here. And save and continue. So this wizard helps you to configure your system step by step. The other wizard is the security wizard, which also obviously allows you to configure the system. And it looks like I've just lost connection. Oh, here we go. It allows you to, oops. Here we go. So it allows you to also configure the security portion of the system. So what that means is setting your bell cutoff time, adjusting your entry time. So I'm happy with these values. I can save and continue. And also configuring your input configurations, whether you're using resistors, what value those resistors are, assigning an input type, and assigning also the input to an area. So it steps you in that process. Finally, setting up your account code for offsite reporting, the central station telephone number. This is through the dialer. The dialer can obviously also be connected to a GSM radio for those that want to use GSM method of communicating to the central station. And for stations that are equipped with our Armor IP receiving software, you would be able to configure reporting so that it sends signals to our Armor IP receiver. So in this section here, it's looking for the client code, the IP address of the receiver, and the IP port that the receiver is programmed on. So once that is completed, you save and return to main menu. And that is essentially the steps that would be taken to getting a WX system online. After that, it's just additional configuration and fine tuning. Adding users to the system is done by the user menu. You could simply add a record and then fill in first name, last name. You could assign an access level. We've got some pre-built access levels in the system. User, master, and installer, depending on which one you select, it would give that user greater access to the system or within the system. Manual control of WX is done through the monitoring tab. So if I click on monitoring of doors and I hit controls, I can unlock a door. You'll notice the status will then show unlocked by user and it will relock automatically. And the same can be said for the side door. So again, all manual control is done through the monitoring page. The same can be said for areas. You could arm areas using the controls here. You'll notice it's now showing an exit delay. Status of inputs, same way. You notice I've got some closed and opened inputs here. So again, WX is an entry-level product, completely browser-based, no software installation at any time, very simple to deploy, very cost-effective, gives you that upgrade path towards GX, so you could start small but grow into an enterprise class system. We feel that WX really satisfies the small commercial market, and having that path towards the enterprise through GX gives you that expandability that you may require down the road. Okay, so I'll transition over back to our presentation. So you should all see my GX slide here. So Protege GX is our enterprise class system. It's designed for larger installations, multi-site. In most cases, the records are completely unlimited. So in terms of doors, users, areas, outputs, there really are no limits to the system. GX is also designed for the end user. So the approach is very graphical in nature. It provides multiple ways of displaying information for the user by way of floor plans, live camera feeds, various different status pages, otherwise known as widgets, can be created on the system. So very graphical in nature. Another screenshot showing some live camera feeds, a status page. We're also displaying ambient temperature and humidity, voltage level as well. Another status page example, and in this case here, we're also displaying the image of the user. So as a user presents their credential, the system will pop up their stored image so that a guard or a concierge can verify that the user is in fact who they should be. With the GX platform, integrations are virtually endless. We've got a number of integration partners that allow you to extend the capacity and capability of the GX system. And information can easily be extracted from the GX system. We made it so that information can be extracted from almost any record in the system. In most cases, you're not having to run a formal report to extract events from the system. These events could be accessed through most records within the platform. Reporting is quite powerful in the GX system as well. You can report on any system event. You could also create event filters and report filters so that you're narrowing down the information that you're seeking. The Protege GX system also comes with a web client if you're utilizing the standard server license. And the web client allows some of the more commonly used end user functions. So for example, adding users, changing their access level, changing the schedule, controlling doors, arming, disarming of areas, viewing of live events. These functions can all be done through the web client. So this gives you yet another method of connecting to the system, making changes, and monitoring your GX system. The web client can also be utilized for software as a service type deployments. So we've got some of our integrator partners that will host a server in a data center, a GX server in a data center, and then at the client site, they'll have a GX controller connected to any expansion hardware. And instead of installing GX at the customer's premise, the controller is communicating back to the hosted server. So this allows better control of the server, upkeep, updates, etc., are better managed when the server is located centrally. And you could add as many clients onto that server as the operating system and hardware profile of the server permits. Here's kind of an expanded view of a typical GX deployment. So we've got obviously the controller, which in a GX scenario could be multiple controllers. You're not limited to a single controller. Every controller has a certain amount of records that it could support, but in terms of extensibility, virtually all records can now become unlimited. GX obviously supports RS-45 connected expansion modules, and these come in the form of reader expanders, input expanders, output expanders, keypad modules, etc. So expanding the system becomes very, very flexible. For both the WX and the GX platform, we've got a very innovative mobile app called Protege Mobile. The app itself is free of charge. There's no cost for the mobile app. And this allows you to remotely control either your WX or GX system. So the app allows you to arm, disarm areas, unlock doors. You could view live camera feeds. You can customize the home screen of the mobile app. So in the image that's on screen right now, you'll notice there's two door icons. There's an area called reception. There's a live camera feed called parking entrance. So you can modify the home screen of the mobile app to suit your needs and your liking. The mobile app is also the mobile credential carrier of the system. So our TSEC readers, depending on which version, allow you to use our mobile credential. The mobile credential essentially turns your smartphone into an access card or an access tag, however you want to view it. So now the user can simply present their smartphone to a reader just like an access card and gain access to their premises. The mobile credential requires you to purchase the mobile credential, so that there's a part number, PRX-MCR. So you purchase the mobile credential, it is then assigned to a user. That user, when they log in to the mobile app with their email address, the mobile app essentially follows them and now resides in their mobile phone. And that is essentially the process for supporting the mobile credential feature. very popular way of gaining access to buildings. I wouldn't say that it would completely eliminate the need for your traditional access card or tag, but it certainly does provide an additional convenience factor for accessing premises. So again, utilizing your mobile phone for access by way of mobile credentials, and providing that mobile control, which obviously being in a mobile-based environment is quite prevalent nowadays. Before we get further into the presentation, I'm just going to quickly transfer over to the GX software to give you a glimpse of that. Okay, so here we are in Protege GX. So I'm going to give you a sneak peek of the GX software. This is the home screen, and I just wanted to point out that we have both a light theme and a dark theme. So again, personal preference of how you want to view your system, but we provide both methods, even because in certain lighting environments, having both light or dark theme capability bodes better for the eyes. We have various different color schemes as well. So these can be tied into your company's branding. So, if you have blue as your company branding or gray, you can switch between the various different colors. I'll leave it gray for now. Some of the key aspects of the GX platform is the status pages. So status pages allow you to view specific items or records within the GX platform. You'll notice here I've got some power supply readings. This comes from the power supply that's actually powering my GX controller on my demo. So you'll notice that my core voltage is sitting at 13.9 volts, and I've also got my current consumption, which is sitting at about 600 milliamps. So very useful tool when connecting to a system and determining what the status is of your hardware. You can have any number of status pages in GX. These are totally unlimited. So here's another status page. So this one here includes some live camera feeds. It includes some doors so that I could control the door by simply right-clicking on that door. I have a number of different options, including obviously unlocking a door. You'll notice the corresponding icon shows that the door is unlocked. There is a detach button here as well. So the GX software was designed also for multiple monitor environments. So in cases where you've got a security operations center or NOC center, you can now extend the view, any view, to additional monitors that you have at your disposal. So this effectively increases your workspace space and provides more information to a user or an administrator of the system. Other aspects are obviously the support for floor plans. So in this case here, I've got a simple floor plan that shows status of doors. I've got my lockdown status and threat level status as well. So this obviously gives an operator a quick glance at their system and what the status is of their system. I'm going to transition over to a live camera feed simply because I wanted to show you an added feature or functionality of the system. So I'm going to transition over to a live camera feed. Here we go. So this is a view of my demo sitting on my desk. You guys can probably see me in the reflection of the DIN rail controller. So what I wanted to show here is utilizing our TSEC readers. Because they use RGB LEDs, we can have any number of colors come up on the readers. So what I wanted to illustrate here is if I increase the threat level over to medium for the system, you'll notice that my LEDs are flashing. Now, the color might not be coming through by way of the camera that I have looking at the demo, but right now they're flashing yellow. So because I've increased my threat level, the flashing yellow would tell a user that in addition to their access card, they would also be required to enter their PIN number to gain entry. So I'll demonstrate that here. If I badge my card, I'm not gaining access until I enter my PIN. And at that point, I've now gained access to that door while there's an increased threat level. If I increase that further, so if I go over to a critical threat level, at this point, you'll notice that my reader LEDs are flashing red, and I now cannot gain entry to the system because my threat level is at the highest point, which is basically lockdown. So those are some of the added functionality that's possible when utilizing our TSEC range of readers, incorporating the RGB LEDs. So I'll transition over to the PowerPoint again. Okay, so I hope I gave you guys kind of an appreciation for some of the capabilities of the GX software. A little bit about the hardware now. You would have noticed from my demo that we utilize DIN-Rail form factor. And this offers a number of benefits. For one, the electronics are protected. They're encapsulated in plastic. So you're protecting the electronics. It's also providing a very elegant installation footprint. So because the modules themselves are quite small, it allows for higher density installations without occupying copious amounts of wall space. The DIN-Rail modules will also have onboard diagnostic LEDs, such as what's shown on this slide. So it'll give you the status of the inputs, the relays, your Ethernet activity, whether it's sending a signal to the station. If there's a fault on the system, these will all be represented through the onboard diagnostic LEDs. Our TSEC line of readers are high security readers. They're available in a number of different form factors: mini mullion, standard mullion, with or without keypad, switchblade size, with or without keypad, and they're available in either black or white to complement most interior designs. The white ones look really nice in a modern setting. So various different options there. We also offer a number of keypad terminals. We just recently introduced our TS50, which is our 5-inch touchscreen keypad terminal, available in both black or white, and available in both a dark theme or light theme. So you'll notice the white TS50 currently is showing a white theme versus the black keypad, touchscreen keypad, which is showing a black theme. So the current lineup includes the LCD keypads you see there, both TouchSense and silicone-based keypad, as well as our brand new TS50s. We also offer an entry station, an apartment entry station. This can be utilized for high-rise commercial or residential buildings, where you may need to provide access to visitors. So a visitor essentially walks up to the entry station, looks up the tenant that they're wishing to visit, places a call to the tenant. The tenant would then have the ability to allow access to the visitor by hitting star on their phone or on their mobile phone, and thus providing access to a visitor. So that's a 17-inch entry station, which is available in both surface or flush mount configuration. And then to the left there, you'll see our SIP-compliant intercoms, both with or without built-in camera. And these are typically utilized for underground parking garages or school campuses where you may wish to provide audio assistance to visitors, faculty, staff members. The SIP intercom could place calls directly into the GX client, or you could connect those SIP intercoms to a SIP-based PBX, and now afford the user additional call routing capabilities. So for example, if I place a call at one of the intercom stations, that call could be routed to an extension, which could include a number of different operators to provide assistance. We manufacture a line of wireless transmitters. These are typically used for parking applications, underground parking garages, where you're wanting to provide at-distance access to visitors of a building or tenants within an apartment building. The remote controls come in both a 2-button or 4-button configuration. They could also be ordered with built-in MyFair or proximity chip. So what that allows you to do is obviously utilize the remote control from your vehicle without actually pulling up to a pedestal mounted card reader. So it gives you at-distance access control capability. And then utilizing the same remote control, you would present that to a reader just like you would any normal access card. So dual purpose. You'll notice the transmitters also have a red exclamation mark button. So that can be utilized for panic scenarios. By pressing that button, you would activate the Form C relay that's on that receiver, and that could in turn be connected to some form of strobe light or action or input to another device to call for help or to alert authorities. Because we're an intrusion platform, we obviously provide means for sending signals to a monitoring station. We support obviously both POTS-based system, GSM communicators, but we also can send signals through IP using Armor IP, which is our IP receiving software. And integrations within the GX platform, obviously quite important for enterprise class deployments. And we've got a number of integrations according to the type of deployment you're undertaking. So in terms of our video integration partners, I like to use the term that we support the top 3 vendors in the North American space, those being Avigilon, Exact, and Milestone. Those are kind of the more commonly used ones here in North America. But we also support the likes of NX Witness, Brook, Hikvision, etc. So a number of different vendors are supported. We support both wireless and offline locking solutions. These have become extremely popular as of late. I would say in the last 5 years, wireless locks have come a long way. It used to be that these locks couldn't be utilized in an outdoor setting or in perimeter doors of a building because of environmental conditions, but now that's not the case. A lot of these wireless locks have a lot more processing capability. So it allows you to extend your access control system wirelessly and do it in a fashion where you still have great control and full audit of activity within an access controlled point. So the integrations that we currently support are Salto offline and online wireless locks. We support the Apereo from Assa Abloy, as well as currently the Allegion AD400 series, and soon to be supported is Allegion's NDE wireless locks as well. So that would, I would suspect, cover at least 90% of any application that you would come into here in the Canadian marketplace. Wireless sensor expansion capability is done by way of Innovonics. So we've got an Innovonics receiver that connects to our system. 2 connection methods are available. You can connect it onto our RS-45 module network, or you could also connect the Innovonics receiver to a network. So it's got an Ethernet port. And now all the wireless devices would communicate back to our control system over Ethernet. So it's 900 megahertz spread spectrum communication from the Innovonics transmitter. The transmitter could be a motion sensor, glass break sensor, build trap, wireless contact, door window transmitter. So those would communicate via 900 megahertz spread spectrum back to the Innovonics receiver, and then the Innovonics receiver would communicate back to the WX or GX controller via the RS-45 module network, or alternatively through the IP port that's on the Innovonics receiver. On the optics side of things, we support the optics Red Scan device, which is a perimeter protection infrared motion sensor. We've used these, well, we've not used them. Our integrators have used these quite extensively in marijuana grow ops, where Health Canada requires perimeter detection within these facilities, so they can be utilized with GX, and the alarms and status of the optics Red Scan can communicate to GX over IP as well. So it's an IP extended perimeter protection system. Elevator control systems. We can do elevator control systems both at a low level and a high level. Low level would entail interfacing our relay output modules to the elevator's floor buttons. So essentially you're designating a relay per floor that you want to control. I'd also have to say that deploying an elevator control system and programming an elevator control system in either GX or WX is extremely simple. We don't have designated elevator controllers. We don't have special designated firmware. An elevator reader could reside on a controller, could reside on a reader expander. There's nothing that's designated. So from an ordering perspective, you're not having to worry about utilizing any special firmware. Any hardware, any reader port can support an elevator. And then it's simply a matter of mapping the appropriate number of relays to control the various floors that you want to control within a deployment. So that's low-level elevator control. At a high level, we could also interface to more intelligent elevator control systems, also designated as destination dispatch type elevator systems. So these are elevator control systems that are designed to save energy, but also route people in a much more efficient manner within a building. So I'll use an example of a building that was deployed here in Toronto called One Bloor. One Bloor is a 75-story mixed commercial residential high-rise tower. And they've got a 6-cab Coney elevator control system, destination dispatch, and that is currently interfaced with the Protege GX system. So now users are authenticating through GX, and then we're talking directly to the Coney elevator controller, and thereby allowing or not allowing access according to a user's authority level. So in this type of deployment, it's simply a matter of mapping the floors to certain records within GX. There's absolutely no relay interfacing whatsoever. It's all done through programming and connection to the Coney elevator control system. And we currently have an integration with all the major vendors, as you can see on the slide there. In terms of biometrics, we can integrate with Suprema Biometrics. And most recently, if you guys saw the latest release of GX, we now support Princeton biometric terminals as well. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to create a user in GX, and it also allows you to capture their biometric template right within the GX interface. This eliminates now the need of installing yet another piece of software simply for capturing a user's fingerprint ID, thus combining that process of creating a user. We have integrations with ATM locks. There's a locking system from CABA called Sencon, which we integrate with, which are quite prevalent in banking institutions. As I mentioned, the Intercom system integration. And we've got integration to building management systems. These can be by way of low-level relay interfacing, so turning lights on and off, etc. But we can also interface at a high level using the BACnet protocol as well. And with most enterprise class solutions or deployments, we often find that there's some form of need to provide yet additional customized functionality. So as a result, we offer a SOAP API that can be purchased, and this would allow you to create custom integrations with GX, so thereby extending the capability of the platform. We've got some other additional licensed features called data sync, for example, that allows you to synchronize records across databases. So these could be, for use for, bookings or tennis courts or things of that nature. You're not having to, load user records in disparate systems. And as I mentioned, it can be used for things like fitness centers, sports clubs. We've got an example in Australia where Tennis Australia uses our system. And those that want to use tennis courts, they basically book online on Tennis Australia's website. And then depending on which tennis court they book and at what time, they are then sent a credential that gives them access to that tennis court. But in fact, it's GX that's controlling the lighting and the access to that facility. And this is all done through Tennis Australia's website, and then using data sync, it loads the user record in GX. So it provides that streamlined onboarding approach. And we've got a number of compliance and health safety features that are coming out very, very shortly. So stay tuned in this space here. So What this allows you to do is it allows you to display a user's compliance training level and whether or not their training has expired. So thus preventing access to a site if their training has expired or if they need to recertify. So we've got an innovative product that's coming that will allow you to carry out these types of installations. We have visitor management capability as well. It's a licensed feature within GX. So visitors wanting access to a premise and alerting a potential host, it can be done all through the visitor management module. And I believe that pretty much wraps up the 45-minute slide deck portion. Again, my name is Pat Alvaro. I'm based here in Toronto, more than happy to help. I think some of you know where to reach me. And obviously, Andre Svorinic is also available. He's based in Vancouver. So if there's any questions after this presentation, by all means, please reach out to us and let us know how we can help. I'm going to now transition over to our Q&A. So one of the questions are floor plans available on the web client? The answer is no. The web client currently doesn't support floor plans. The main purpose of the web client is to allow some of the more commonly used end user functions. So onboarding users, changing their access level, potentially changing schedules. It was really designed for that purpose. It's not to say that we wouldn't support floor plan display in the web client in the future, but currently there's no way of supporting floor plans in the web client for GX. Another question is, can the mobile app be white labeled? So I guess, can the mobile app be customized according to a company logo, et cetera? The answer is yes. We could do that. Just reach out to us after this presentation. We can get you more details around that. So just looking down the list here. So another question, how are remote controls identified in the system? Are they ordered with unique ID or some dip switch inside? The answer is the remote controls come pre-programmed with a site code and card number. So similar to ordering proximity cards or proximity tags, they're already pre-coded from the factory with a site code and card number. And then when you create a user in either WX or GX, you're assigning the site code card number that's on the remote control. And then from there on, when that user presses the remote control, they would be identified in the system according to their name. Another question that came in, is the Innovonics receiver the only way to add wireless sensors to the WX? The answer is no, it's not the only way to add wireless sensors to WX, but I would say it's probably the cleanest way of adding wireless expansion. The reason for this is that if you utilize the Innovonics receiver, we're able to now monitor the transmitter for both low battery and tamper automatically. Whereas if you utilize a third-party wireless receiver where you're basically just taking the outputs and wiring them into an input on a zone expander in our system, you would have to designate additional inputs on our system to look for low battery and tamper recognition. So I hope I've answered your question. Innovonics is not the only way of expanding a system wirelessly. It certainly is the cleanest way of expanding a system wirelessly because, again, we're able to monitor that wireless transmitter's low battery and tamper recognition automatically without having to designate any inputs for it. Another question, the mobile app is free to download, but do you require a license on GX to use it? So yes, the mobile app is free to download and you don't require a license on GX. However, when you're using the mobile app on GX, the GX server needs to have the web client license on it. The web client license comes with the GX base server license. So when you purchase the GX base server license, it comes with the web client and it comes with 3 web operators. What that means is that 3 distinct operators can utilize the mobile app and the system would log activity according to each individual operator. So if you've got a case where you need to identify the user that's, for example, just armed an area or unlocked a door, the fact that the GX base server license has the 3 web operators would give you the ability to track that activity over the mobile app. So I hope I've answered your question. Again, the mobile app is free of charge. It can be used on GX, and you don't need an additional license per se to utilize the mobile app. So looking at some other questions here. So another question, is it possible with GX, when using it as a security as a service type deployment, could you have one GX owner allow access to their site only? So thus not looking at other sites? The answer is yes, absolutely. So when you've got a GX deployment where you're managing multiple sites, you could create an operator that only has access to their specific site, and they wouldn't see or have any dealings with any other site that's connected to that server. So looking at some other ones here. Another question, in GX system already, so with GX and in integrating and supporting Salto locks, how easily can you support Bluetooth locks? So we're in the process of supporting the Allegion NDE series, and they're a lock set that utilizes Bluetooth technology. So their gateway communicates to the NDE locks over Bluetooth. So we hope to have that integration completed by the end of this year. Okay, just looking at others here. A question that came in, can you unlock latch a door using the mobile app? The answer is yes. To unlock latch a door, you simply press and hold the door icon for about 3 seconds, and you'll see the icon will give you kind of a circular dash indication. So that's the way of unlocking latch a door in the mobile app. Now that we're on this topic, I will like to point something out here. Let's see. So we've got a sales enablement kit on the Protege mobile solution. Let me just go to full screen here. So this is available for download off our website. So if you've got access to our website, you simply click on My ICT, go to downloads, and you'll see the sales enablement kit for the Protege mobile app. I recommend having a read through this. It really explains very well how the mobile app works. It also gives you some videos that are embedded in the PDF on how the mobile app functions. It also answers some key questions about the mobile app, you know, what the process is and what's required. Also, the process of ordering mobile credentials and issuing them are covered in this pre-sales enablement kit. So I'll give you an example. So here's an example of what is sent to a mobile user when you issue them a mobile credential. They get an automatic email asking them to create an account, as you can see on the screenshot there. And then once they log in, they would then be able to utilize the mobile app. Of course, the administrator of either the WX or GX system would have to load them as a valid user and assign an appropriate access level to the system in order for that mobile credential to function. So just loading a mobile credential onto the phone doesn't mean you'll have access to the system. A valid user record would also have to be created in either WX or GX for that to work. So here's an example of the mobile app being presented to the ICT reader. And the mobile app works both with Bluetooth or NFC. You can utilize both methods. NFC is, you got to get much closer to the reader, just like you would an access card. but Bluetooth gives you the ability to set it in a mode where you either shake to unlock at distance, or you could set it to proximity unlock. So as you approach a door, the Bluetooth signal would reach the card reader and provide access or not based on your access level authority. So yeah, definitely have a read through this document. I think it'll explain a lot of questions. There's also an embedded video on our mobile credential management portal. So what that is when you order mobile credentials from us, let's say you order 100 mobile credentials from us, when you place an order for these mobile credentials, we need essentially an email address for the person that's going to administrate these mobile credentials. And the administrator could potentially be your customer, because you may not want to have the responsibility of issuing these credentials to the end user's employees. So that administrator could be your client's facility director or security director. So they would have the responsibility of issuing the mobile credential to their staff. And essentially they would be given access to our mobile credential management portal, which would list all the mobile credentials they purchased. And for each mobile credential, there's essentially a field where you would enter your staff's email address and hit the issue button. And that's how the issuance of these mobile credentials takes place. Here's kind of a screenshot of what the mobile credential settings options are in the mobile app. So you'll see you can enable, disable proximity unlock, shake to unlock, or NFC capability. And then on a per user basis, you could also adjust the Bluetooth capability. So have a read through this, available from our website, excuse me. And you'll notice that there's all these videos that you can utilize as well. Okay, so a couple minutes to go. Let me just see if there's another question we could answer here.
While you're looking through the questions, I've gotten a few requests on where can this webinar be viewed later on in time. Maybe you can touch on that.
Yeah, great question, Andre. Thanks for bringing that up. So we're recording this webinar. I should have mentioned that at the outset. We're recording the webinar, and we will make it available to those that participated here today. So stay tuned. We've got your email addresses, so we know where to send the link to. So we will make this available for replay after the webinar. Thanks, Andre. So with that, I think we'll end it here. It's about 3 o'clock. I want to thank everyone for participating. I hope we've given you some information. If you need additional assistance, please feel free to reach out to myself or Andre. We're here to help. And once again, thank you very much for your time, and hope to speak to you soon.